afternoon. I'm joined today by Ben Seville from Spoke. How are you doing, Ben?
Very well, thanks. Yourself?
Yeah, very well, thank you. So we were talking a little bit off camera there regarding Spoke's background, but you are no strangers, although we might not be intimately familiar with you, you're certainly no strangers to the property market, both here but particularly abroad, as this is this comes from rexlabs, who are well known household name CRM providers in Australia, and again, one of those legendary companies doing wonderful things out there. But Spoke, I believe, is being used by. Did you say it was around sort of 2,500 agents to promote their properties in Australia?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, we've got I think we've got over now 2,500 agencies that have kind of onboarded and sort of, with the product over in Australia. That's Australia and New Zealand as well.
Fantastic. So we always know that the Australians and the New Zealanders always, when it comes to property, at least two steps ahead of us. And I've always said, if you want to know what the future is, you need to go and have a look at what Australia is doing today, and we'll find out what the UK property market's going to be doing in a couple of years' time.
Yeah.
Because there's just their estate agency industry over there is just, it's legendary, isn't it? You've got
Yes. Yeah.
some great personalities like Panos and the Novaks and Josh Fegan and all of those sort of great names that we know of over here now. But obviously, Rex are starting to come across the water, and you guys have been here now, operating in the UK for a couple of years, and you offer a solution which is, at the moment, it is going to be extremely relevant. Agents are struggling, I suppose, with what they would call stock levels in terms of the availability of stuff to sell, and they need to try and get a message across to members of the public as to, the fact that the market's going well, that they need more houses to sell. There's no other way to put it. And so prospecting in any form becomes important, none more so than digital prospecting. Now, before I hand over to you, Ben, so you can describe how Spoke does it and how it works, one of the things about having an online presence and digital advertising, or prospecting, if you like, over social media channels, is that it takes time and it takes effort. And you need to design something that looks good. You need to try and work out which audiences you're targeting. Otherwise, it can just be like sort of throwing sand in the wind and hoping it lands in the right place. You guys have got a solution for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, correct. So yeah, Spoke is essentially a digital advertising tool for estate agencies. It combines Facebook, Instagram, and more importantly, we also incorporate Google Ads into that as well. So it's not just the kind of social media side of things, which a lot of people like to focus on. It's also incorporating that Google Ads into it as well. And I think once you start to add in Google Ads on top of the social media side, that's when it starts to add another layer of kind of complexity. You're not only trying to deal with the sort of the back end of Facebook, creating audiences, creating all your ad sets, you're also then having to do the same with the Google side of things. And that's the great thing about Spoke, is it incorporates both of these sort of channels, puts them into one really nice, easy to use, simple platform, which agencies can jump into. They can quickly and efficiently create different types of campaigns depending on what they want to push out. And we've got different types of audiences that they can target. And again, these audiences have been built by our product team and development team. So these have been trialed and tested over the years to ensure that we're really targeting the right people, because that's one of the key things about digital. You could be pushing out the best content in the whole world, but if you're not getting it out in front of the right audience, or you're not getting in front of the right people, then it's almost wasted budget, and it's almost wasted ad spend.
So it doesn't really matter if you're a complete newbie, you've never advertised online before, or you're an old hand at this. You can effectively rock up with Spoke and say, look, I need to launch a campaign. This is what I would love it to do. Have you got some templates that are going to help me? But more importantly, if I didn't have the first clue of where to find an audience, you could help with that.
Absolutely, yeah, that's it. When an agent jumps into the platform, they select which type of campaign they want, whether that's sort of advertising a listing out to potential buyers or running a sort of general brand awareness campaign for the actual agency. They can also do an agent profile and push that out specifically for an agent to get that agent awareness. Or they can do just sold listings, which has been quite a big one recently, and we'll probably touch on that in a bit more detail in a second. But yeah, they can jump in, select which campaign they want to choose or they want to run, and then inside there we've got kind of tick boxes for different types of sort of buyers or different types of vendors that they want to choose, whether that's first-time buyers, for example, premium buyers, and we've also got rural buyers in there as well, and obviously lots of different data points, likes, interests, behaviors that Facebook and Google have got that we use to ultimately determine who these people are and whether they fit into these audience segments as well.
And it goes without saying that geographically you're able to sort of pinpoint certain areas within a certain radius, I presume.
Absolutely, yeah. So if you've got obviously the sort of the listing, it's going to find that listing address. You can target a radius around that listing, whether it's a 10-mile radius, just as an example. And then you can also pinpoint specific areas outside of that if you're wanting to target specific areas where people might be looking to buy. And it's the same with the brand awareness. They can target an area around their office, so their sort of farm area where they're looking to operate. And if they're looking to branch out into other areas and sort of gain more exposure, more brand awareness, or even just trying to prospect in these areas, they can select multiple areas around that, which they can also incorporate into their targeting as well.
That's fantastic, because that's very often an area that agents, they always think, oh, I'd love to, it's not that far away. I'd love to try and target that postcode, but we don't have a physical presence there. Very often you don't need to, at least online, as long as you've got a digital presence, people are going to see you. And I'd imagine if you're making life easier. So tell us a little bit about, I mean, we touched on those kind of just sold ads and in terms of agents. I mean, it's equivalent of what I grew up with as a 2020 letter. If you sold a house in a street, you would then sort of tell everybody in that street that, you've just recently sold number 10. And how are you seeing some success with those at the moment?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, there's been a big focus for agencies recently, especially with kind of the lack of stock, different types of campaigns, whether it's just, general agency brand awareness, directing people to kind of instant valuation tools, just generally adding value to these potential vendors out there who are obviously looking to sell their property. These agencies compose themselves as experts, really show the vendors that these guys know what they're talking about and they're the agency that they can trust with their property when it comes to selling it as well. And the just sold campaigns have also been a huge campaign recently. And again, I always say to agencies, you're probably doing this already in more traditional methods like your letterbox drops of just sold properties in a specific area. To being able to do a digital version of that, there's a few benefits to being able to sort of do that digital version as well. Again, it's highly targeted. They can target not just necessarily a small radius around that listing. They can also incorporate other areas into that as well. They can do up to 5 different properties that they've just sold, and they can also customize the copy on the actual ad of each individual property, whether it's, I saw one the other day, of just sold over the asking price, or whether it's just sold within 2 weeks. Yeah. And again, this is things that agencies want to push out and show vendors that they're doing as well. So yeah, just sold campaigns. We've had some good success recently with agencies who have been pushing out just sold campaigns. They've had vendors contacting them. They've been doing their marketing appraisals, and they've ultimately won the listing off the back of that as well. And also using Spoke on the flip side of that, once they've actually got these vendors in, they've got them interested, they can actually use Spoke as a unique selling point when it comes to actually selling the listing as well. So we've got collateral that these agencies are using to say, yeah, we're not just putting the property on Rightmove, we're also running digital ads to target specific buyers who are going to be interested in your property as well.
Because a lot of agents claim to do social media correctly, but really all they're doing is chucking random posts out, hoping that somebody's going to pick up on it. But really, if you want your content to reach the right sort of audience, you need to put some thought into it. There needs to be a little bit of sponsorship behind that, and just a few quid in these advertising campaigns goes a long way, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I always say that to agencies. Again, the organic posts and the organic content that they're putting out on their Facebook pages is obviously key, and they definitely need to get that out there to be able to kind of help try and build that following on Facebook. But ultimately, you're very limited to who's actually going to see that content. The people that like or follow your page might see that, but then being able to push that out to a wider audience of people outside that following, that's where they need to sort of put a bit of money down, push it out, and that's where you're going to really start to be able to target these people and use all these different data points to be able to pinpoint these people and not just show it to anybody and everybody, essentially.
So we know that one of the main USPs is obviously it's a massive time saving this as well, being able to sort of log in and have all the adverts almost kind of pre-made and ready to go. So how efficient is it and how quick is it? So if, in terms of, you know, an agent investing time using the tech, is it does it run itself? Does it need a lot of babysitting?
So the agencies, the agents still jump in. They still have control over obviously the kind of the audiences, and they still have control over the sort of the ads. All the ad sets get created, but they can still jump in, make slight customizations. They can choose obviously the images that they want to use, whether that's for a property or whether it's for the sort of branding campaigns or the just sold campaigns. But essentially to sort of create a campaign from start to finish, it can be anywhere from 60 seconds up to maybe 3 or 4 minutes at the most. Yeah. And you think agencies that are creating ads manually in the back of sort of Facebook Business Manager, just Facebook Business Manager alone, even if you know what you're doing, it can take anywhere up to sort of 20 minutes. Up to 40 minutes sometimes.
And you get distracted and lost along the way as well.
Yes,
I've fallen down that rabbit hole a couple of times on the ads manager and Facebook, and it's just so easy to get sort of, because it can some of it can be more complex, especially when you're building audiences and having to manage that. I suppose Spoke gives you that one central login that you're able to get to for all these different platforms, and also Google, which let's face it, it's huge. It is the number one place that people are searching for anything. Why leave that out of your digital offering? It's got to be there, hasn't it?
Yeah, that's it. And I think Google Display Network as well. It reaches about, and this is from Google themselves, reaches about 90% of people who are online surfing the web. It's on over 3 million websites worldwide. So for these agencies being able to get out, push these display ads out, appear on different websites. An example I had was the Daily Mail the other day. An agency said, a vendor said, I was looking at the news in the morning and I keep seeing your agency ads pop up on the Daily Mail and websites like this. So it's that kind of brand awareness. And it's obviously short term as well. Agencies want to find stock now. They want to get themselves out there. So whether they're pushing these campaigns out now and trying to target vendors who are hot, ready to sell their properties, but you've also then got behind that long term brand awareness. So where agencies are doing this over a long period of time, that's when they're going to start to see their social presence is going to start to grow. It's going to start to get more and more vendors seeing them. And we've had quite a few agencies actually have been running campaigns successfully or consistently through Spoke for probably more 9, some of them over a year now. And some of the feedback we get from them is just vendors like, yes, see your guys ads on all the time. They pop up here and there, and it just keeps them fresh, keeps them relevant, and keeps them top of mind.
Fantastic. So one of the things for people that are completely fresh to online advertising, and particularly sort of Facebook audiences and so on, once your eyes get open to it, it's a whole other world out there. But particularly people are keen to sort of target warmer leads, if you like, so people that are more familiar with you as an agent. They may have already had interaction with you. They may be part of your database. They may have visited at some point your own website. And so at that point, you start to do some research and you learn about things like Facebook pixels that sit on your website and effectively able to track those visitors and retarget them down the line. Now, all of this to somebody who's never done it before sounds like magic pixie dust, and they don't quite know how it works in real life. But luckily, Spoke deals with that as well, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and I think what you said then is kind of key. And I think we've all experienced it before, where you sort of look up a product online. You might look up a new car, like a new BMW or something, and then you jump on Facebook the next day and you start to see ads for that product or ads for that BMW start popping up, and you almost kind of question, hold on a sec, I was looking at that yesterday. How do these people know that I'm looking at that? And that's kind of, the retargeting with like sort of Facebook pixel codes on the website. And that's kind of one thing that we sort of deal with in Spoke as well. So anybody visits that agency's website, they get sort of tracked and put into that retargeting audience. And from inside of Spoke, they've got a couple of different buttons where they can target their web traffic. And these people sit in there for about 90 days. So if these guys are placing ads consistently across that 90 days and they've had a vendor visit their websites from sort of day one, they're able to reserve these ads to this vendor along that sort of journey. And again, I think people aren't necessarily always going to be looking to sell their property right away. So for them being able to have these different touch points along the way and retarget these people is how they're going to keep their agency kind of fresh and keep their agency relevant. And they can also do the same with Facebook and Instagram post engagement. So anybody that interacts with their Facebook page or with their kind of comment, likes and shares, they also get tagged with the sort of Facebook pixel, go into that retargeting audience, and they're able to retarget these people with their ads as well.
Fantastic. And so when we talk about audiences, one of the revelations for me, and this was a huge eye-opener, is if I'm talking to Ben today, because Ben wants to buy a 3-bed semi in my area that I operate in, the likelihood is Ben is one of, I know you feel you're special, but there are another 10 of you out there, aren't they?
Absolutely.
And it's about how do we find those people that we might not have yet spoken to. And there are certain characteristics and traits, even just geographic similarities, that you will share with the other 9 Bens. But I want to try and reach that audience. You can build lookalike audiences. And so agents sometimes struggle to do that because, again, it can be a little bit complicated. You guys can take the heavy lifting out of that. If an agent's got data that they've amassed, and we all have, we're sat on CRM data with thousands of contacts in there. You can do something with that data. There's gold there, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's it. I think it's leveraging. It's all about leveraging that data that you guys have got in that database that you kind of spent years building up. So what you can actually do is you can download a list of contacts from your database into sort of a CSV format. You can then upload that into Spoke. What it does then is uses that sort of email address or phone number to actually pinpoint and find these people whilst they're on Facebook or whilst they're on the Instagram platform, and any ads that the agencies run whilst they've also got that audience sort of ticked in with the targeting. It's also going to target these people and it's going to reserve them the ads when they're online. So whether that's a list of potentially vendors that they've worked with in the past, or like you say, sort of warm vendors that they've spoken to recently, or whether that's kind of potential buyers that they want to push out on a sort of listing campaign. And then also Spoke off the back of that, like you mentioned then, it also creates a lookalike audience off of that list of people. So like what you said, it's great being able to target that data from the database, but if you can also build a lookalike audience off the back of that and also start to target people outside of that list who ultimately look very similar to these potential vendors, let's say, then that's obviously key, especially key in sort of digital prospecting world as well. And again, hugely powerful. And we've had a lot of agencies who have been pretty wowed with that and being able to sort of leverage their data as well.
It is. The first time you see it all happening, it's like, oh, I can't believe they've got all this data. It's unbelievable what they could use, but it worked. I mean, how many times like you say, you gave the analogy of that new BMW. One way or another, although some people don't like being followed around by ads, I'm one of those suckers that always ends up buying. But let's face it, I didn't Google new BMW for no reason at all. I Googled it because I was potentially interested in buying one. Similarly, people that visit an estate agent's website or they Google properties in Manchester or whatever, the reason is that they've got some sort of a hope of buying something or selling something. So really, it's a nice warm lead if it's handled correctly.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it. And I think it is just those different touch points along these people's journeys. Like say, somebody might not necessarily be looking to sell right away. Some people are, some people aren't. But if they can still have that touch point and they can still retarget these people over the next couple of months and sort of push them down that sort of that funnel, essentially until they're sort of ready to list their property. And then which agencies are they going to have at the top of their mind? It's going to be the ones that are in front of them, the ones that have got that, what we call digital share of voice. And if an agency isn't placing ads and all their competitors are, all everyone in their area is going to be seeing is these competitors' ads. So if they're not getting in amongst that and they're not grabbing some of that digital share of voice, almost like market share online, then they're going to be missing out, aren't they?
It's the key to all marketing these days. It's arbitrage for people's attention, isn't it, really?
Yeah, that's it.
That's what we're after. Yeah. And that window of opportunity to sort of catch people it is ever narrowing, but the one place that you can always find people is scrolling through their phones of an evening. A perfect marriage these days is ignoring each other, sat on the couch, scrolling through Facebook. It works. It works, and I've seen it work in terms of the results that it has in building both brand awareness, but also if you are actually looking to sell something and you're looking to reach an audience, that's superb as well. You can actually target that audience. So it really sort of ticks all the boxes that you could ever hope for when it comes to digital prospecting. So it sounds like you've got an awesome and very powerful solution there.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, and like I say, I would always just warn people to come and have a chat. Come have a chat with me. If they've got any questions about the system or anything that they're unsure of, just come and ask us some questions.
Fantastic. So it's an absolute silver bullet solution, really, isn't it? For anybody that is shy. If you're shy and you've not managed to get yourself out there online digitally, this is brilliant for you because it's an out-of-the-box solution. If you struggle to find the time because ad creation takes a little bit of creative know-how, you've got to know a little bit of technical know-how to get your audiences together, and then you're going to have to navigate all the different sort of sponsorship solutions that you've got on Facebook, Instagram, Google, getting it separately put together. This is also a solution for you. So really, the efficiencies here are huge, Ben. But how quickly, if I'm an agent looking to try and engage with my digital audience in the way that you've just suggested, I've got a problem today, I want to do that today. How quickly can I onboard with you, and how does it work?
Yeah, so it's in terms of the onboard, and I think in terms of sort of costing as well. I think I said to you about this before, and this is something I always say to agencies: we've got no setup fees for the account. We've got no monthly subscription fees, no contracts sort of tying these agencies in, and no minimum monthly spend. So these guys can literally jump into the platform, create an ad campaign, select a budget. Once they push that ad live, we only take 25% of that budget as a fee. The other 75% is what goes on the actual platforms. And Spoke also manages the campaigns for them in the background as well, saving them another job. So I always say to agencies, if you haven't done it before and you're thinking about sort of testing the waters, then jump on board, trial a few campaigns. I sort of the account manager in the UK, so I'm always talking to agencies about how the campaigns performed, the results, maybe different types of campaigns that they can do next. And we're always keen to kind of help these agencies when it comes to the first steps in their digital sort of advertising as well. And in terms of the onboard, it's a real simple process. It's an eight sort of questions that we use just to set the account up. Agency's name, address, phone number, email address, that kind of thing. The account takes a couple of days to set up at most. And once that account's ready, we invite them in, they sort their payment details out in the back, and then they're ready to go.
And in terms of getting everything sort of branded and logoed up and getting the colors and the tone of the advert right, that's all easy to do as well.
Yeah, we actually set that up in the accounts. We just get them to send over their sort of logos if they've got particular brand colors, and we can either pull that from the website or we can just drop that straight into the account, and we get all that branding ready. So when these guys are pushing ads out, it goes through their actual Facebook page as well. So it's nothing to do with our branding. It's all the agency's Facebook page, the agency's logos, the agency's branding, which is another great thing about it. It's all about them.
It's fantastic. And the fact that there's no kind of initial outlay other than the fact that you're taking a percentage of that spend. But the fact is, agents are not going to come back to you again to do the next ad unless they've had results off the first ad. So I suppose the proof of the pudding is there already. People keep coming back to you to do it. And the reason is that they see value and it's delivering results.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it. And again, we're always, like I say, we're always keen to talk to agencies about the results, about how the campaign's performed. If agencies are doing it themselves and they want to jump into Spoke and trial it and see how that compares with what they're doing now. And we've got lots of agencies who are running the ads themselves. They start using Spoke and they say, do you know what? We're getting better results. It's taken us a fraction of the time to actually create these ads. We're not having to manage them ourselves. And we also get kind of support when we're using the product, and also kind of, any help in terms of running these campaigns and different types of campaigns, ideas, that kind of stuff as well.
Fantastic. And obviously you've got analytics built into your solution. So you can see at the drop of a hat, really, whether or not the particular ad is reaching the audience, what their engagement levels are like, But more importantly, if I'm advertising, say, a vendor's property on your platform, I'm able to sort of share those analytics with the vendor and say, hey, look, this is how many sets of eyes we got in front of this week. This is what we're doing to promote you.
That's it, yeah. So we've got what we call vendor-friendly reports. So once these guys launch their sort of a listing campaign, they can share that with the vendors straight away. They can also use these reports to sort of show vendors when they're doing their marketing appraisals, look, these are some of the reports that we produce for our digital advertising campaigns through this tool that we're using called Spoke. And they can share that with the vendors, and they can sort of jump in and sort of see it in real time. Yeah, see the impressions. Wow, the property got 20,000 impressions across Facebook, Instagram, and Google. We got 500 clicks through to the actual sort of landing page or through to the website. And there's different metrics that we track on the landing page that they can also show the vendors. And yeah, we get really good feedback from some of the agents when they're sharing these reports with the vendors as well. And it's that sort of unique selling point as well.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to explain Spoke to us, and hopefully all your details are on the Kerfuffle page. That'll be flashing up across people's screens as we speak right now. But Ben, thank you very much, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.